I'm working on an exploration game that takes place in a huge procedural city where every building can be entered. I just recently started adding NPCs to my city, but they're at a very early prototype stage right now, so I'm not quite ready to talk about them. That's why today I'd like to touch on a more general subject instead, that of motivation for maintaining productivity on a long-term project like mine. By the way, I hope you noticed that I finally got myself a microphone, all thanks to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. If you like my project and would like to help me finish it, the link is in the description. Now, I am creating Vontra City because that's what I want to do. That's it. There's no employer paying me a wage and telling me what to do, or an investor setting deadlines and milestones. It's just me and my personal motivation driving the whole thing. So it's very important for me to stay on track. In this video, I'd like to talk about my personal experience, but if you are someone who is also working on a long-term project and understand the struggle to stay focused, maybe it'll be useful to you too. This is not a how to stay motivated video though, I'm just sharing what has worked for me. There are other content creators who give practical recommendations on staying disciplined and organized, but I personally find that activities like setting goals, writing lists of tasks, and tracking my progress have the opposite effect on my motivation. They turn creative work into something mundane, and although it works for some people, it has never worked for me. I do track and document things, of course, but I still prefer to keep my work process somewhat hectic because it's more flexible that way and also more fun. Anyway, I don't want to get into much detail on how to get specific things done, and would rather talk about what actually makes me want to work on my project every day, no matter what the current task is. And that, most of the time, has nothing to do with things like discipline or willpower, because I'm a pretty chaotic person and discipline has never really been my strongest suit. Despite that, I've managed to release a game and a non-game app by myself before, so I have some confidence in my approach. For me, motivation has two main components. The intrinsic motivation, why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I get out of my work. I am making a game that I would like to play and I really want to see it happen, so that's one part of it. Also, I love big cities and the experiences you can only have in a city. And that is a huge part of Vontra City's identity and why this particular project is so important to me. I also greatly enjoy the process of coming up with creative solutions to complex problems, which is why I like to take on tasks that haven't been done before, like creating a fully explorable city environment to begin with. But what happens when the goal feels too far away and the day-to-day tasks go from pleasantly challenging to daunting? That's where the second component comes in, the extrinsic motivation. The expectations of other people and the rewards that can be gained by meeting them. Things like attention, professional recognition, money if it's a commercial project, and of course a healthy dose of fear of failure and disappointing your audience. The intrinsic motivation is commonly considered superior to the more superficial extrinsic one, but I found that what works best for me is when these two components work together and feed into one another. The intrinsic motivation alone is just not enough for me, and I don't think I could stay motivated for very long working on a project that I knew no one else cared about, even if it was very engaging for me. Of course, I still have hobby projects that I don't publish, and I do enjoy those, but I am specifically talking about long-term motivation and the will to overcome challenges and frustrations. Validation from other people is a big part of what drives me and the reason I keep posting these videos and other social media content. It's not just about marketing for me. Your views and comments actually help me stay on track. And I'm not just talking about the positive comments, by the way. The criticism also helps me greatly because it gives me a sense of what improvements I should prioritize and helps me come up with new ideas that I wouldn't think of without being challenged by someone. Even the occasional mean comments get me fired up and make me want to prove the haters wrong. I think the only feedback that could really demotivate me would be indifference. On the other hand, I still don't think I could work on a project purely for other people's approval. There needs to be an element of self-expression, otherwise I'd get bored. which is probably why I've never been satisfied working a regular job, even though I've had some really nice ones. Then there is another component to it all, and that is intuition and the ability to listen to your gut. Sometimes a slump in motivation is not just an obstacle that can be overcome with discipline and willpower. It can be a sign that something is fundamentally wrong with the direction you're moving in. So when I feel a mental block coming on when I start a certain task, I like to take a step back and think about what it is that makes me hesitant. It can just be the fear of failure when the task at hand is challenging, and in that case, pushing through with sheer willpower is what works. But more often than that, it is the gut feeling that the task is simply not worth the effort I'd have to put into it, because the result will not be interesting or unique enough to be truly enjoyable for me or other players. In this case, I'd much rather scrap my work and get back to the drawing board to come up with something that will genuinely excite me than waste my time and efforts simply powering through. Actually, come to think of it, trusting my intuition on when to give up on something has served me well in life so far, so even though I definitely don't give up on things easily, I consider it something of a superpower. So these are the things that have kept me on track on my project so far. A combination of genuine desire for creative expression, external validation that other people have given me, and staying in tune with my intuition for what works and what doesn't. The project is still far from being finished, so only time will tell if I can keep it up. Not to mention that I'm human and I have to deal with all the same life challenges that we all have to deal with, but I am confident that I can get Vontra City to the finish line and it will be worth it. If you have experience working on long-term creative projects, feel free to share your ideas on how to stay motivated down in the comments. And as always, stay creative.